So, those of you following the channel will have seen in my last video that I was attempting to find myself a decent, sensible, reliable and economic daily driver and failing miserably by acquiring this problematic 3.2 litre V6 Alfa Romeo Brera. So, I'm trying to get this car sorted and find something better to replace it, which is, to be honest, the car that I should have got in the first place. Now, I've been thinking long and hard and trying to decide what to do with my one Alfa Romeo problem. And I've applied my finest maths, logic and level-headed thinking, and I've decided that the only logical solution to one Alfa Romeo problem is to have two Alfa Romeo problems. I present to you my new and hopefully long-term daily driver, my Alfa Romeo 147 Q2 Sport. Having decided that the Brera wasn't the right car for me, I started scouring the classifieds almost instantly to try and find a replacement. I was driving around 400 to 500 miles every week, and quite frankly, the rate that thing was going through fuel was scary, so I needed to find a replacement sooner rather than later. I was about to pull the pin on buying an old Fiat Grande Punto from a friend when I decided that that probably wasn't going to be a car that I was going to be happy with long term. There was a couple of issues with it, so I went back to the classifieds and started looking for alternatives. But I have a few odd requirements that are maybe a little bit unreasonable, and I understand that not everyone's going to agree, for my car. Despite the fact I wanted a reasonably cheap to buy and cheap to run daily, I did want it to be kind of a nice place to be. So having something like a leather interior was kind of high on my priorities list, and if it had the added bonus of being a little bit different and nice to drive, that would seem like a great car to me. Now, I initially set my budget at under £1,000, and near the top of that range at about the £800 to £900, I found a couple of Alfa Romeo 147s. And I started looking at them and I thought, you know what, that could be a kind of nice car. I did some reading up and it seemed like the 147 was actually a reasonably decent car. Now, the later cars they made, which are a bit more expensive, were a bit better put together, but the 147 was supposed to be a pretty decent car that handled okay, but most importantly had an interior that's really, really nice, with most of them having a full leather setup and just kind of looking nice and just being a little bit different. Of course, once I decided that the 147 was a car that I liked the look of, and really I did like the idea of having an Alfa Romeo still, I decided to see what I could get if I upped my budget by just a little bit. So I upped it to about £1,250, then £1,500, and then I absolutely drew the limit at £2,000. And at about that price range, what appeared were a few examples of something called the 147 Q2 Sport. So knowing nothing about the model, I did some quick research, and this is what I found. The Q2 Sport was a limited edition model that Alfa Romeo did towards the end of the car's life, and they only imported 350 of these to the country, so it is reasonably rare, even though the 147 itself is actually quite a common car by Alfa standards. Now, the Q2 Sport has a few nice upgrades, like it's a nice black leather interior with red stitching, it's got sporty bumpers, sporty looks. It was only available with the 1.9 JTD-M multi-jet diesel engine, which produces 150 horsepower in this trim and a fairly healthy slug of torque. Now, at the time, it was apparently a pretty decent engine, but 10 years on, it does seem a little agricultural by modern diesel standards. However, it was reasonably economical. About 45 to the gallon seems to be what it returns, which isn't brilliant, but for the performance, I'm happy to live with it. It's certainly better than the about 25 that I'm getting at the Brera, and truth be told, I think this car is basically as quick as the damn Brera anyway. Yes, it's about 90 horsepower, sorry, 110 horsepower even down on the Brera. It's also nearly half a ton lighter. It handles much nicer, it's got great turning, it's very keen, the steering feel is actually quite nice, slightly light, but it's really, really good. Now, part of that's because of the Q2 part of the Q2 Sport. For those of you who don't know, Q2 is the branding that Alfa Romeo give to their cars equipped with a limited slip mechanical differential. And a lot of the 147s when they came out got criticised for basically not being quite as good as they could have been on the handling front because they liked to spin up a wheel. And putting the limited slip diff on just completely cured that. It made it a much, much better car. Unfortunately, the Q2 only came out a long, long way into the 147's model life. So when you look at reviews of these cars, most people are reviewing them with an open differential. In fact, even the GTA version of this car that they did, which came with the 3.2 litre version of the Busso engine, that's a 250 horsepower V6, they still supplied it with an open differential. Of course, put a limited slip diff on and you have a totally transformed car. Now, to put on a limited slip diff on one of these is going to cost you over £1,000 alone. So to get a car like this with the limited slip diff already fitted seemed to be a no-brainer, especially for someone like me that obviously is going to enjoy the performance driving aspect of this car. I've already put about 2,000 miles on this car and I have really, really enjoyed driving it. Although it doesn't look and sound anywhere near as good as the Brera does, I have to be honest, it drives miles better and is just a really, really nice place to be and is reasonably economical to run. This is the car that I should have bought to start off with. Now, of course, it isn't perfect. There's a few things that I'd like to change. I wasn't keen on the style of alloys that came with the car, and they were quite badly scuffed up. The paintwork also does need some attention, which I'll probably do next year. But in the short term, I'm going to be putting a slightly different set of alloys on. So currently it's wearing some alloys from the GTA. I'm going to be refurbishing these in a different color, and this is probably what I'm going to keep on the car. I'm going to get the original ones back soon and then basically A-B it and see which I prefer. I think it also rides a little bit too high. The Q2 Sport does ride lower than standard, believe it or not, and has a slightly stiffer setup, but I think it could be slightly lower and slightly stiffer still without really compromising the car's overall comfort. So I've got a set of eye-back springs already on order to sort that problem out. And then the biggest issue for me really is the sound system. For a start, the quality just isn't brilliant, but more importantly, I do need a car with a built-in sat-nav, and most crucially, I need Bluetooth connectivity, which this car does not have. Now, fortunately, I have a solution for that already lined up, and I'm going to be shooting a video on that very, very soon. So if you're a 147 owner and you haven't subscribed to this channel already, please do. But for now, this is the new JM On Cars Daily Beastie. I hope you like it. Yeah, let's hope it goes better than the Brera did. Thanks for watching.